Hanada is Japan's third highest ranking hitman, a reliable gun for hire, often cautious, thorough, and discreet with his targets. However, when the enigmatic Misako offers Hanada a job with 1.5 million yen payment and only 3 seconds to kill his target, Hanada fails on the job, hitting an innocent individual instead. Now with Hanada's life on the line, his organization threatening to kill him, and his ability to trust those closest to him diminished, Hanada finds Misako, beginning a chaotic affair that will serve as the motivation for his final conflict, taking out the highest ranking hitman in Japan, the Enigma, referred to as the Phantom. This is Seijun Suzuki's Branded to Kill, a Yakuza neo-noir focusing on Hanada's growing, inconsolable paranoia, as well as the strains of achieving a single goal, in this case, the #1 hitman in Japan's criminal underbelly, and the tragic sacrifice that it costs Hanada, serving as a cautionary tale. Yes, it is possible to be better than the rest, but at what cost? While not particularly Seijun Suzuki's most accessible title, the quickfire editing moves the film at a pace so snappy that events unfold before the viewer has time to process them. Branded to Kill is often considered one of Suzuki's greatest filmmaking achievements, and widely acknowledged as one of the greatest films of the Yakuza crime drama genre. What makes Seijun Suzuki's filmmaking style so drastically different from many of his contemporaries within the Yakuza genre is that his approach verges on the experimental and often puzzling, relying on an editing pace that seems to skip over scenes that bridge gaps between other scenes, as if the film moves at a pace so swift that it takes a moment to catch up with it. Alongside Suzuki's skill for creating surreal images, such as when Hanada feels overwhelmed by the rain, the sight of Misako's dead butterflies and moths, and her minor birds, presented as if cut-out illustrations depicting these things fill a screen like an unfinished jigsaw, as well as his penchant for transgressive sights, sometimes as filmic references to his inspirations. The close-up removal of a glass eye harks back to Luis Buñuel and Salvador Dali's infamous eye-slicing scene from Un Chien Andalou. Seijun Suzuki has a style that is truly his own. Unfortunately, this style isn't the most accessible viewing material, and at the time of its release, Branded to Kill was a commercial failure, elaborating on Suzuki's unmistakable filmmaking voice, while also referring to Suzuki's industry blacklisting. Peter Bradshaw wrote for The Guardian stating that Seijun Suzuki's Branded to Kill is a very 1960s metaphysical thriller, a cult item treasured by connoisseurs as the kind of film that, for all its delirious craziness, could even be a truer product of Japan than the higher artifacts of Ozu and Kurosawa. It is an erotic and dreamlike pulp noir, and its disdain for any sort of conventional plot infuriated the director's employers at the Nikatsu studio, where Godard had his jump cut. Suzuki has his disorientating ellipses, his sudden dreamlike time slips. Now held in the same high regard as classic Japanese filmmakers, disorientation is essential within Suzuki's filmmaking. His sudden dreamlike time slips, frequent in his films, giving the specific impression that the film moves at a speed too fast to process, as if scenes have somehow escaped from the audience's grasp. This sense of disorientation is significant within Branded to Kill when, as a cautious hitman suspicious of any potential threats, such as a car following behind he and his client that is gradually revealed to be simply teenagers on a joyride, Hanada becomes more and more paranoid after messing up on a key target, killing the wrong person, unable to trust his wife who was hired to kill him, and eventually confining himself to his own apartment to hide from Japan's #1 killer. The dizzying disorientation only adds to the immersion that, as Hanada is losing track of time and becomes overwhelmed by his surroundings and circumstances, we also share in that sense of overwhelming pressure by trying to piece together the information the film provides for us. Branded to Kill also provides imagery that can prove as an allegorical revelation of a character's true intentions. When Hanada initially encounters Misako, she reveals she hates men and wishes to die. A dead bird hangs from her rear view car mirror, a seemingly morbid detail, giving the impression of hostility, but later can relate to her obsession for things considered once beautiful. Misako's apartment is covered wall to wall in dead moths, butterflies and dragonflies, their significance never truly elaborated on within the film, but Hana just suggests the location feels like a graveyard. As Misako's and Hanada's bond grows stronger, however, it's clear the two characters love each other in their unconventional way. The excessive number of moths, butterflies and dragonflies on the walls of Misako's apartment seem to indicate an obsession over something once deemed beautiful and lively, which could be an allegory for Misako's own feelings of love towards Hanada, a sense of obsession for a man who was once lively, filled with confidence, but now, after his fumbled assassination attempt, those traits that made him unconventionally beautiful have now gone. Further elaborating on Seijun Suzuki's industry blacklisting after the financial failure of Branded to Kill, resulting in Nikatsu terminating their contract with Suzuki, Nathan Nicolau wrote for Between the Frames, stating that, in a trial that lasted 4 years, Nikatsu paid Suzuki a settlement and issued public apologies. Despite this win, Suzuki would be blacklisted from making another film for 10 years. During this decade, he was hailed as a countercultural hero in Japan for standing up against corporate injustice. His films slowly became very popular at Japanese midnight theatres, where he was met with standing ovations by his cult following. Despite the industry blacklisting of Suzuki, his reputation as a countercultural icon, as well as the gradual positive reception of his films, has aided in effectively cementing Suzuki as a cult filmmaking legend. This path of Suzuki's career isn't unlike that of an underdog story in itself, an unfairly treated filmmaker standing his ground and gradually receiving the industry respect he thoroughly deserves. While Suzuki may still not be a particularly commercial filmmaking name, his significance and influence on filmmakers, from Quentin Tarantino to Takashi Miike, is undeniable. In conclusion, Seijun Suzuki's Branded to Kill is a classic of the Yakuza genre and a classic of Japanese cinema. While Suzuki's approach to storytelling may feel esoteric to the uninitiated, a barrier which contributed to the commercial failure of the film, it's Suzuki's mastery of his unconventional direction style and his appreciation of surreal, transgressive and allegorical imagery which makes Branded to Kill stand apart from many of the popular classics of gangster cinema. Whatever the viewer may think of Branded to Kill, what is certain is that the film is truly unforgettable. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporter Gil, and my super tier Patreon supporters Konstantin Bombelli and Victoria.